It smells like bacon!
So, a few months ago, Julie Tardos, one of our viewers, sent me some tea. And it's a very special tea. I've had it before, but I didn't know the name of it. And here's the character, according to the description on the back of the box. Pine smoke and bacon with some dark stone fruit notes. Now you might be wondering, how come we haven't made a mead out of this yet? Well, because I've been drinking this as a tea. I actually kind of like it as tea. But I thought, let's make a mead with it. By the way, this tea is Lapsang Souchong, and I'm probably saying that wrong, except that I looked it up, and Google says to pronounce it like this.
Lapsang Souchong.
So, if anybody has an argument with that, argue with Google, because that's who told me how to say it.
There's an interesting story about this particular type of tea, and that is particularly interesting to those of us who enjoy Star Trek, because apparently, originally, this was supposed to be Captain Jean-Luc Picard's favorite tea, but they decided that saying Lapsang Souchong was slightly more difficult for filming purposes. So it got changed.
I think it would sound good coming out of his mouth, though.
Hot.
I think he'd do well with that. Anyway, for this brew, you're going to need some honey, you're going to need some tea, and you're going to need one other ingredient to be disclosed later.
And yeast.
Oh yeah, you need yeast too. I'm actually going to be using some of this Mangrove Jack's MO5 Mead yeast. Doesn't say sweet, it just says Mead yeast. Now, this is the MO5. Now, this was sent to us by Ken from Barrel Char Products, who sends us a lot of wood. He got this, and he got too much of it. So he's like, hey, do you want this? I was like, sure. And what's coincidental about that is I had just ordered some for us right about the same time, but I ordered it through Amazon, and on Amazon, her parents' address is in there as a delivery address too, and I didn't change it. So it's at her parents' house that we haven't been to since, and we're going in a couple days, but that doesn't help me a lot today. So I'm glad that Ken sent me this. So thanks, Ken, because now I get to use this today. Anyway, we're also going to be using some of Bev's Honeybees honey today. I'm going to use 3 pounds. I know the Mangrove Jack's yeast can go to 18%, so Bev's honey tends to be a little bit supercharged. We'll see how this goes.
Now, this particular version of Bevy's Bees honey is the orange blossom honey, and we thought that the orange notes would pair really nicely with this particular type of tea.
Yep, and a lot of time we'll add like a zest and things like that. In this case, I don't think we need to, because we're going to go with that orange blossom that you can kind of even smell in the honey. You can smell a little bit of a floral, orangey type of flavor. So we're gonna go 3 pounds of honey. So the way I made the tea is really, really simple. I figured, okay, we have a gallon. A cup of tea, because it says a teaspoon per cup of tea, is about 6 ounces, even though I know a cup is 8 ounces. But for tea, it's 6, don't ask me why. That means we needed enough tea to make about 7 tablespoons, which is pretty much half a cup. So I went with half a cup of tea. I put it in the world's largest tea bag, also known as a nut milk bag, or any kind of brew bag that you want to use, and used hot water, brewed it for 5 minutes, pulled the bag out. So this is brewed appropriately for this kind of thing. Like, if you could just drink this as is, and they weren't kidding. Pine smoke and bacon, totally there, a little bit fruity. Fruit is kind of on the back end. I don't really get a lot of fruit in this, but it's nice and smoky, really bacony. It's kind of like, if you like Islay whiskey, I think this mead might be something you'd be interested in. We happen to be fans of Islay whiskey. By the way, that's I-S-L-A-Y. Yes, it is pronounced Islay, not Islay. Just saying. Anyway, we are now waiting for the honey to come out of there. The tea is still really, really hot, so I don't want to just dump it all in there, but I'm gonna add our mystery ingredient, which isn't really a mystery. It's just such a controversial thing that I like to make it a surprise. It's raisins, okay? How much raisins? About that much. I'm using like, I don't know, like 3 tablespoons, just a bunch of raisins.
Now these are sun-made raisins, and they're dark raisins. And the reason why we use them in particular is because they don't have any preservatives added to them or oils, which may cause issues for our brew.
Yeah, they don't have sulfites added like a lot of raisins do. And yeah, I know, there's better ways to get them in there. I'm doing it this way, it's just how I do it. All right, so I changed my mind. I'm gonna put a little bit of the hot water through here and then take the funnel out, all right? Now I'll put the rest of the raisins in. All right, so this makes a mess. I'm gonna try something here. Somebody mentioned a chopstick trick or something. I think I'm gonna burn myself though, because you're supposed to like hold, yeah, no, I'm not doing that, because that's gonna burn me. The other one was, just go with it. Just commit. So I'm gonna commit. And I hate this pitcher. Can I just say that? I hate this pitcher. I think I'm just gonna get a ladle and do it that way. But before I use this ladle, it has to be sanitized in
The Red Bucket of Sanitization!
just like everything else here. All right, so while I ladle tea, while I'm doing that, we're gonna put in some yeast nutrient. And the yeast nutrient we like to use is fermento. I have 2 grams and a little bit of water, and I'm just gonna pour that right in. It doesn't hurt to have the yeast nutrient in the hot water, okay? That's perfectly fine because it's not alive, it's inert, so there's nothing that's going to hurt it. I'm going to finish scooping the rest of this, badly, apparently, and we'll see in a minute. Yay, we managed to get all the tea into the gallon fermenter. That was complicated. Now, I have all this hot liquid in here. It was about 140 degrees when I measured it, so it's still a little bit warm to pitch yeast. I do want to mix it up though, and with all that heat, it should mix up that honey really, really nicely. I need my thumb saver bung. What I mean by a thumb saver bung is it's a solid bung, and I got it a long time ago because when you're pushing your finger over the hole, it does hurt after a while, especially if it's hot brews and things like that. So in this case, I'm just going to shake it up. This is also known as shaking the bejesus out of it. Even though nothing's actually coming out, things are going in, so it's kind of a misnomer that way. But what I am actually doing is aerating this and mixing it. And there's a lot of confusion about aeration in brewing. Aeration is really good in the beginning phase of brewing. When you're first putting something together, the first couple of days, that's it. After there's alcohol, it's bad to do. Is it necessary to do in the beginning? Well, yeah, I think it is. If you ever get like really bad smells, sulfurous smells, rotten egg smells, it's because you didn't aerate enough. We, shockingly, never get that, and we aerate pretty much every brew like this.
But we have another brew that's a test subject that will be coming out and be released to you in the future that may or may not bring some speculation on that whole idea.
It was not aerated. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, the hot water is wonderful for this because, oh my God, it just mixes up like it's nothing. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And we have raisins in there, we have honey in there, we have some water in there. I need more water.
We have yeast nutrient in there too.
You have yeast, yeah, that. I need water now.
Okay, put your funnel back in.
At this point, I'm just gonna fill it, up into the neck. Then we'll add our yeast, take a reading. Let's see how this turns out. Don't move it. It'll just spill out all over the place. There's still water in the funnel. And all the foam has now backed up into the funnel. So this is interesting. I got greedy, okay? I'll admit it. See, she thought it was gonna go all over the place.
Well, it did a little.
All right, that's it. I can't get any more in there, so we're just gonna go with it.
So when you're pouring your water,
Pay attention. You have one big advantage in the paying attention department. You're probably not making a video while you're doing it. So, I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying it's a lot easier when you're not recording it. Okay, yeah, in the top of the brew there, where it's wet, 91 degrees. We're perfectly fine to pitch yeast into 91 degrees. Basically, you want it to be under 110.
but
That's Fahrenheit, by the way. The Celsius will be down here.
first we're going to mix this some more and take a gravity reading.
Right. If I mix it anymore, it's going to foam all over the place, like that. So let's get a gravity reading.
All right.
I'm estimating 1.105. And I say estimating because anytime we've used Bevy's Bees honey, it's always come out much higher than the expected 35 points per pound per gallon. Now, someone's also going to say that there's a temperature differential here. Well, yeah, there is. It's only about 12 degrees over what we have our house kept to. So the amount of difference that it's going to make in the reading probably isn't even a point, or it's around a point. I'm just not worried about it. There's more inaccuracy in trying to read a hydrometer than there is in worrying about the temperature differential at that point. But from a technical standpoint, yes, you're supposed to take readings at a certain temperature. 1.130. No, 1.120. Not bad. 15 points higher than expected, even though I have more than a gallon in there. See, her stuff is powerful. 1.120. I need a label, but first I'm gonna pour this in here. Some people dump this out. I'm not some people. I don't really know why they dump it out, other than maybe they didn't sanitize all these things, but we do. And we do it on purpose so that we don't waste anything, okay? Some people drink it too. I don't know that that's such a great idea. I mean, it's pure honey water and tea, although actually with this tea that would taste really good, except it'd be really uber sweet. Okay, because this is a relatively more expensive yeast, normally we use a whole packet. I'm not gonna use a whole packet today. I'm gonna eyeball a half packet for this particular yeast. It just seems a little bit more wasteful than usual to use a whole packet. And you know, this is for 5 gallons, even 6 gallons. So I'm just gonna eyeball about half. A little bit more. Yeah, that's about half. And the rest will go into the refrigerator. We actually have a little like drinks fridge, mini fridge, and the entire top shelf is all yeast. That's all we keep in there, and we've gotten months, even years out of some of them, and it's perfectly fine as long as you keep them in the fridge. You can also freeze yeast, but I find that over time, more and more of the colony starts to die off when you freeze them. So we just like to keep them refrigerated. It's sitting on top of the foam, so I'm just trying to get it through the foam into liquid, even though it would get there on its own eventually. I just don't want it to be a big clump when it does, but I also don't want to get too much on the sides because it'll never hit the liquid then. And there we go. It's in there.
Nope.
That is not the bung to use for this. What I need is a regular bung and airlock. Okay, so we have our bung, we have our airlock. I have made up a label. The label says Lapsang Souchong Mead because, you know, I'm creative like that, and that's what we're calling this one. 3/22/22 is the start date, 1.120 is the original gravity, 3 pounds of Bev's Orange Blossom honey, but yes, you can use the honey of your choice. It doesn't have to be this exact one, though if you can get this one, I highly suggest it. We also are using a half cup of Lapsang Souchong leaves made into tea. The amount of liquid that you use isn't as important as the amount of leaves that you use, steeped for 5 minutes. 3 tablespoons-ish of raisins, sun-made, only the dark ones, good stuff. And 2 grams of fermented. Oh, this is gonna get taped on the side of this thing as soon as we turn off the camera. And what are we gonna do with this now?
We're gonna let it sit.
For probably 2 to 3 weeks. But in the meantime, we're gonna show you when it starts up. See you in a few. Okay, so it's been like an hour, and as you can see, we have activity in the airlock, which it pretty much started doing this almost immediately. I hate to say that that's truly fermentation, but in this case, I'm gonna have to go with it probably is. If you look a little bit closer at this foam, it's actually bubbles. It's not just the foam anymore. There's bubbles forming in there. It's actually fermenting. This is amazing. So there you go. Just an hour in, it's already started up. Mangrove Jack's MO5 yeast doing the trick. Let's see how this bacony, smoky mead turns out. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.